point of view, Andrew, you're the visionary behind this move for the future. Was this really a response to market demand, client pull, or was it just an internal ambition that you felt from the wider team?
Well, I think when I was during that process to acquire ISG, I was doing a lot of research and meeting a lot of people from a developer's perspective, and then looking at it from a client's perspective, and then looking from every angle. And everyone was saying, these are the opportunities. That Dubai has so much opportunity at the moment, and a lot of stuff that we're doing at the time was focused mainly on that kind of commercial office environment where there was a lot of competition. And when I looked at it again from my investor head, I'm thinking these margins are quite tight, and how do we find a way to improve these margins? And then we started looking at the larger opportunities when the team were talking about the G+1 would allow us to then start to build out the ground, which we'd never done before at all in the Middle East. And that was obvious that was a great opportunity. Now, we might have not actually won anything yet with that, but the opportunity came around and just turns out we did. Now, I think the secret was that being a management contractor at that time allowed us to be that flexible, get the license. We already have access to supply chain. That's what we do well. We manage the supply chain. So all it meant is a few tweaks, and we were able to then bring some additional supply chain partners on board and then expand. And I think that's the model. We are looking at adapting and changing our model a little bit, and we'll probably talk a bit more about that later. But the original model allows us to have that level of core flexibility. I think that's important in a business, because then we can, as Rob said, we can identify the opportunities, but still look at risk parameters. And I think that was probably, again, one of the core policies that were in place here to identify that bid, no bid process and ensure we're making sure that we have that working for the right clients, and avoiding some of the pitfalls whereby other maybe contractors have scaled and not followed that kind of risk parameters, and then they've not lasted very long. So I think we need to balance the risk versus the reward, and that's what we'll continue to do going forward.
But I think with that, we're able to take it further now to understand how much risk there is and can we mitigate any of it. Before, we're getting chopped off at the knees before we'd even kind of gone down that route. And I think that's what everyone was trying to... It's very difficult to tell somebody in the UK about a job without it sounding risky sometimes. And then if they're reading it on a bit of paper or on a phone call, they're like, oh, well... Yeah. But the reality is, if you could just take it that little bit further to really receive the information, do a bid, no bid process on it, and get it into estimation, get them what they think about it, then you can kind of assess it a little bit more. But we weren't even getting to that point.
Yeah, and I think for me, every developer, I must have met with 5 or 6 big developers, and they were always, basically before they knew I was buying ISG, they would always saying, we're struggling to get good tier 1 main contractors. They're just very difficult. The kind of core 5 that are there at the moment in terms of main build contractors are at full capacity, they're struggling with supply chain, and they can't take any more work. So clearly that creates an opportunity. And then I've just acquired this great tier 1 main contractor platform that just needs to be tweaked a little bit and opens us up to those opportunities. And that's what we've done.
And we've taken this ambition into a reality now over the past 12 to 14 months, shifting to full scale construction, building out of the ground. But this does require a different capability set. How have we approached this in terms of building the right talent and the technical expertise to support this shift? Dave, from a commercial point of view?
Yeah, I think I just want to take it sort of one step back, really. I mean, we mentioned earlier from fit out to construction. So I was back with ISG in 2013 where it was predominantly fit out. I was working with Aidan there. We were on similar projects and Rob in the supply market. So one of the reasons I actually left ISG back then was it was very cyclical, especially in the commercial office fit out, which is, for me, in my personal opinion, is quite uncomfortable. It's very up, down, and you never know where you stand, really. So one of the reasons that led me to come to rejoin ISG was predominantly, we're moving into the construction arena, which is, again, I would say a bit more of a defensive, a bit more, you can forecast a lot more, it's more predictable. And I believe there was a space for ISG in that arena, as Andrew mentioned. So, yeah, that was one of the predominant reasons I joined back. So coming straight back into ISG at that point, a lot of, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of employees had obviously left the business due to the administration in the UK, which is fully understandable. So once I got a vision, having come back, and we could see where the company's going, it allowed me to start recruiting people, especially in one of the commercial team, which a lot of people had actually left. So yeah, I started recruiting outside the spec of your fit out esque people more into the construction arena, which I think now has led to a well stabilised team with multiple skill sets, really, from MEP to construction to fit out. So we've got the full package, I would say.
It's also upskilling our staff as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the
exactly. So existing was fit out, and we've recruited in, so we've bolstered it in the facets or the sectors that we'll be working in. So yeah, that's kind of where I've looked at it as well. With Sanjay, part of the team, he's predominantly previously was supply chain. We've moved it more into procurement as well. So it's modernising the team and facilitating it to take on the larger scale construction packages that the team will be managing.
And then from a delivery point of view, Aidan, what do you think were the critical roles to bring in early to support this change in direction?
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of good staff already with, we had a lot of people in there more than capable of delivering these types of projects. So we had a great base to work from. We've civil engineers, technical design people in-house, project managers, project directors, all with large scale construction delivery experience, as well as the fit out, obviously. So we had a good base, and then it just meant topping up the team and recruiting really specific roles for specific projects as and when they come in. And again, working really closely with Rob's team, I suppose it's having foresight in advance before jobs even land, tenders, that we can really look at that recruitment to suit upcoming roles. And that's what we did. I think we had a challenge, I suppose, around March of 25 with recruitment, because some people did move on from the business during the administration period. So then it was rebuilding, regrowth. But with that came the opportunity to grow and develop the right people, what we needed. And then beyond the people side of things, we had, a lot of our process and procedure, or all of our process and procedure really was taken from the UK, from Group who already did large scale construction projects. So with very minimal tweaks, we were already fit for purpose. So I think that worked really well in our favour. And I think, it's the supply chain, I suppose, was the one other one that we really needed to box off, where we had a really good solid supply chain that we've worked with for 15 to 20 years. We really targeted, and we did a lot of homework with Dave's team as well on the procurement, the supply chain side, about getting some new supply chain very, very bespoke to these projects that we were targeting and ultimately won, and really taking them on board. Even though they're working for us as subcontractor, we're really taking them on board as partners, and I think that just worked really well for us. I think it was just a kind of a collective between the commercial ops and the work winning teams that got us into the place where we needed to be. And it's a continual thing. Like it doesn't end now today. Yeah. It's not like we're sorted and we have everything done. It's constantly evolving and changing. So we just need to, we're always on the case, I suppose.
Andrew, I'm going to take into a little bit around some of the challenges during this change. So transforming a business while navigating ownership and structural changes, I can imagine, is never straightforward.
No.
But what were some of the biggest challenges, whether around the internal change, market perception, or capability build, did you find during this transformation?
Well, I think, that's a big question. I think there's lots to unravel there. But I think the key benefit I had, as I said at the beginning, we had a very strong team. So we had the foundations to make the change. And I think we essentially started January as a startup almost, because I think the guys alluded to earlier, when the UK went into administration, they lost all the core functions. So from website to marketing to HR to finance, all the systems left. And essentially within a space of 3 months, you guys had to adapt and build the systems to suit the current environment and what you had. So we had to put that in place, the new kind of infrastructure. of course, we had the core foundation, but essentially you had to create something from scratch. Actually, someone said to me, "We're probably a startup on steroids." Is probably what they were saying, because it was about how we had to essentially accelerate very quickly, and I think last year, 2025, was about stabilization. We'd done a lot in the year, but we started off by looking at that. We had lost, not a huge amount of staff, but we had to, I think, end up last year, we recruited 40 plus staff. We had, I think, 12 promotions within the business. So that's a lot of staff to bring on board. And we have a very strong culture, as we mentioned earlier, so that takes time to ensure that culture's still embedded as we grow. So I think the core team really helped that change. We went from, you guys went from having you talked about before, Rob, having a corporate entity, a large corporate entity, to being an independent business. Now, if we look at the financial side to that, we had to essentially stand on our own 2 feet. We had to still show that we could be cash flow positive, as we talked before. We had to look at our balance sheet, but we had to increase our bonding capacity. Now, if you've got a huge conglomerate organisation with multi-billions in the bank, that's easy to do. But we were starting as a standalone business, so that fell on me and then the rest of the team to show the banks that we have the capability and the backing to take on these large projects. And that wasn't easy. That essentially, I was saying before, I hadn't bought any assets in the UAE yet. I was in there. We already had quite significant bonding in place. We had to show we could sustain that, and we essentially had to double our capacity. And we did. It took a bit of time. There was ups and downs with that process, again, because I'm getting to understand the process a bit more. In fact, to Ali and the team, that I was getting educated along the way. But we did it. We doubled our bonding capacity. We took on the largest bond we've ever taken on in terms of the largest project. And that was meant to be the stabilization year, not the growth year. And I think we essentially, in terms of projects on hand at that point, we doubled the revenue, went into this year with the largest secured revenue we've ever done before. So even though it was meant to be stabilization, it was a lot of growth. And then this year is, again, probably growth on steroids, because I think we've now got the core capabilities. Our infrastructure's there. We're still improving the infrastructure as we go. We've improved our team at every level. We've now, I think, got a core team in place that can allow us to deliver the revenue that they want to deliver in the next year or 2 years. So yeah, we're in a great position.
And do we think, was there ever a time where Andrew's strategy has been tested over
no
the
comment.
over the past 12 months? Obviously, the strategy's been very clear.
I have this a lot, right, Ross, and I think this is something that a lot of people in the business are kind of coming around to. I think that when Andrew first came into the business, he thinks completely different to what we do. Now, whether that's because we were trained by a group to think a certain way, but the reality is you have to think a lot more about when we decide to go for an opportunity, because I think sometimes it's very easy to go, that's not for us. And I think, as I said earlier, we've got to go down the path a little bit further, and even more so with Andrew. So I think we take opportunity on board, we look at it, we see what it's about in a lot more detail, and then we can make more calculated decisions. And I think we definitely are moving forward with that mindset. And I think it's not that the strategy is being challenged. I think it's just that we've probably got to challenge ourselves to think a little bit different, to kind of, if you want to use it, jump on the train. So It's one of those things where it's a breath of fresh air in reality. You just got to put it into your head as a breath of fresh air, as opposed to something's difficult. Does that make sense? It's a different mindset. It's a completely different mindset.
The pace of change, isn't it? So like from as you said, acquiring a business would normally take 6 to 8 months, and it took 3, and then it's never then gone, okay, we're okay now. It's like, it's this constant, we're constantly moving, and whereas maybe in the past, as you said, were we trained to think in a certain way? We just had our system and our process, and that was what we did.
The swim lane was the swim lane.
Yeah. Whereas, like, and to be honest, we probably all wanted more, and to do more. So the opportunity probably came at a great time. I think everyone, you'll agree with that. Like, everyone wanted more, but it just there wasn't the option to get more. So now there's probably more than what we can handle. You know, it's just it's moving quickly. So we need to keep moving with it. And yeah, it's
even faster this year.
Even faster this year. I know. So yeah, it's but again, it's opportunity, isn't it? That's it's great to have the opportunity in front of us rather than not having it.
Better for everybody.
Definitely. Yeah.
I think when you asked the question there about. Well, I can't remember the last question you asked me, but one of the things that I had to adapt to was when I initially bought the business, I thought, right, turnkey, you know, I'll just buy the business, we'll let it run, and it's fine. But for me, when I seen there's a huge opportunity here, it's a huge platform, and there's a huge opportunity to expand and grow. So again, going back to tell my wife that I was buying a business that was fine, it's on the side, I'm not going to be there, to realising actually I need to get involved as much as I can, and that turned out to be I'll do 1 day a week, and then I think it was just let's do it full time, and that's because I can see the opportunity, and I believe that's why I want to invest more of my time to get it, because you said earlier, Rob, our vision is there, but we're not focused on it saying we're only doing this sector. We're currently as we grow, we're looking at the opportunities and we're open to all opportunities. But over the next year, we'll start to narrow that down and right, this is now where we want to be because this is the most profitable part of the business. Again, we're looking at vertical integration and supply chain acquisitions. All that will help going towards that profitability. And then once we get to that position, I'd like to say to myself, I'll step back, but probably not.
Good luck with that, yeah.
Stop it there.
From a client perspective, Dave, how has this evolution changed the value that ISG delivers, and what new project types or sectors has this unlocked?
I think, as I mentioned earlier, I was previously working at ISG, and it was always a thought process of mine. Why doesn't ISG take its skill set forward into more complex type of projects, really? So, as I mentioned as well, that I've predominantly come back to ISG for venturing into these more complex construction-esque environments. So, yeah, I think coming back to ISG is predominantly looking back at it has the core abilities to enter these industries. So now with the current project that we're working on, and as Andrew mentioned, we've broke a record on the bonding for this specific project and a forward revenue order book. It's actually good that I believe ISG is really leaning on its capabilities and moving forward into the construction, specifically the logistics and manufacturing arena in this instance.
Then from a finance point of view, there must have been a huge change in this shift. Alia, what's this change been like for you?
How long do you have? No, it's actually been small tweaks to existing processes. We're being a lot more regimental in how we analyze our performance of our projects. We're being a lot more regimented in how we bid, no bid, price for our projects. So, in fact, I think since Andrew acquired our business, we have become closer from a commercials perspective, ops perspective, finance perspective, where we're talking a lot more, monitoring a lot more, and our focus is on cash plus profitability. So it's just, I say it's small tweaks, but it's necessary because we're understanding our unit economics a little bit more in depth and scaling it to suit the larger projects.
Aidan, just bringing you into this, are clients now engaging ISG earlier or differently than before?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just again, going back to that project we did last year or 2 years ago and finished last year, that opened up opportunities, that put us in a different light. And then obviously Andrew coming in allowed us to kind of focus on those opportunities and go for them. But then when you're in the arena or the market for those opportunities, clients just naturally talk to us about it. And if there's an interest, and if it's going to work both ways, it opens up doors.
And I just want to now look ahead into the future. See, we've been doing a lot of business planning over the coming months that we've all been involved in, and there's a lot of ambition. There's a lot of forward momentum as well. Andrew, just looking ahead, what does the next phase of growth look like for ISG as its construction portfolio expands? And how do you think market trends are going to shape the business over the next few years?
Well, I think, like I was saying before, we expected last year to be bit of a transition stabilization period, but we've seen growth already. So we've already accelerated what we're doing, and I think we're in the process at the moment to identify, I think I mentioned before, looking at some vertical integration with supply chain, how we can increase our capabilities further. So I think this year you'll see some exciting things happening. We're in the process of looking at acquisitions for the business that will allow us to look at exactly that, increasing our capabilities in the civils arena and probably also the MEP arena, where we can look at more control of our pricing, and that's only going to benefit ourselves and our clients as well. One of the benefits of being a residential developer, everyone at the moment is looking at the UAE or Dubai in particular and saying that there's a bubble coming. It's, I've heard that for the last few years. 2026 is the year where we're going to see a big downward trend in residential. And if you look around Dubai at the moment and the amount of cranes that are building, there's thousands upon thousands of units coming to the market and thousands of units coming in the next few years. So it can't sustain its current level of growth on the residential side, but there's still key opportunities there. What we've done is we've diversified into probably a safer part of the market. We were building essentially for end clients, and I think that will be a trend that we'll look at going forward, that kind of build-to-suit model, specifically in that arena of manufacturing, logistics, data centres is going to become a big focus for us as well. And these are all about essentially a much more stable environment if there is any downward trends in terms of the market.
Perfect. Anybody else want to jump in? No? Okay.
No, it's fine.
I
could probably add something purely in terms of we can upskill our staff, we can upskill our processes, revamp all of our infrastructure, but we're nothing without our supply chain partners and nothing without our banking partners as well. So when it comes to market trends, it will be very interesting to see, particularly in my part of the world, how our partners are willing to come with us on that journey. They have supported us this year, and as we move into those arenas where we're still maintaining our assessment of risk, which is why the banks like us, I hope that they just continue to grow with us, and it moves from not yet to what do you need.
And I'm just going to close now. So we're again speaking about ambition. Once this ambition becomes a reality, if we were to revisit this conversation in 3 years' time, what would you think success looks like? It's just an open question to any of you.
Yeah, just more consistent cash in the bank, larger consistent cash balances, more profitable, larger balance sheets and P&Ls. And I'd like to look at some of the projects that we're currently undertaking or we're currently bidding for and looking back at them and saying, we did that. Our team did that. So that's more on the money side and the tangible asset side.
From a delivery point of view, Aidan?
Yeah, it's obviously we're out there and we're doing a great job on the work winning front and picking up these opportunities. So, and clients are trusting us to do that. So the obvious success in that is delivering on what we do, what we say we're doing in the tenders. I think so far we're doing a good job. We can always do better.
Yeah, can do.
So I think for me, success for ISG is a business would be measured in two things. One, the financial side is important. I think we've got a 3-year plan, or 5-year plan, but let's say 3-year plan, to essentially get to a position where we can break the mold and the profitability that comes from main contracting, because it's always known to be small. And as an investor, I don't want it to be small. I want it to be larger. So we're being creative in our mindset and how we can change the norm to find more ways to improve the profitability. And that goes down to what we talked about before, acquisition, supply chain, or non-organic growth. But I think the bigger thing for me is the financial success will come as long as we can deliver on what we're doing. Yeah. I think it's really important that we are setting a bit of a legacy. I think I don't want us to go in and delivering something good. I want us to be best in market. I think that's a big statement we need to put out there, that we're going in and we're entering a segment of market that we've not been in before, whether that be data centres. I want us to go and build the best data centres. If we're looking at having our own joinery facility, we looked at that today. And ultimately, I want that to be the best joinery facility. I want people to come and see that and go, have you seen ISG's facility? Because it is the best in market. I think if we can get 3 years down the line and have all the things of the ambition we have now, and we have that legacy there and people talking about us, I think that's a big success in itself.
Rob, from a client perspective, how has this evolution changed the value that ISG delivers, and what new project types or sectors has it unlocked?
I think it goes back to what we said earlier about when we were close to completing the project on the Palm, that we suddenly realised it was a great idea to get our key clients down there and prospective clients down there to see actually what we're doing. And I think that's probably our biggest achievement of what we've done recently is we've opened clients that we've been previously working with up to the new way of thinking that we can deliver more complex projects, and bringing them down to show them how we operate, what we're doing, site setup, etc., has been probably our biggest selling tool realistically. I think one of the major points that we've really focused on this year has been with our clients and the projects they have. So as I spoke with Andrew earlier about defining the sectors and direction we're going in, the reality is we'll also go in a direction our clients take us in. We've got some fantastic clients that have been really good to us from prior to what happened to then what happened, and I think it's something that we want to grow with them. They're big companies. They have a magnitude of projects, different types of work, and they will ultimately be a part of the success that we have. And then moving on to new business, we're currently on site with an amazing job in JAFSA, and that's going to catapult us into different sectors. We're doing a fantastic job of marketing. It's one of the biggest things that we've been noticed about. People have come back to us saying that they feel like they're seeing a lot of us about at the moment. It's down to Nada and the team just doing what they do. I think we're coming up with really good schemes of marketing to project our projects in the best way possible. So I think it's going to come from a all host of different avenues.
And with this project that we're on at the moment, for ISG's first construction project, are you now finding that clients are engaging with ISG much earlier or differently than before?
It will come in two avenues really, that will, because I think we've got people that have got future work that they're looking at that have engaged really early with us, and there's site visits and information that we're basically supporting them with to get their project to a point where they are going to release the RFP. And then we've got clients that have got current opportunity that are looking for contractors that we can essentially show them that we can do the type of work that they've got. It'll always come in different parameters, that will, and each client's got a different view on how early they release information or how early they like to engage with you.
Thank you for joining us on the Construction Collective. We hope you enjoyed today's conversation, and stay tuned for our upcoming episodes where we continue engaging with industry leaders shaping the future of the built environment. See you next time.